Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. In this episode, EquityTrader shares her path from a master's degree in France to working in FX sales in Belgium. We learn why she was so confident quitting, how she ended up in Germany at a French bank working in asset-secured financing sales, and finally, what led to the most recent jump to work in London as an equity trader over the past 3 years. Enjoy. Okay, equity trader, thanks for joining the Wall Street Oasis podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It would be great if you could just give the listeners a short summary of your bio.
Yeah. Okay, so now, currently, I'm working in a big international bank as a trader in equities. That makes 5 years in total that I'm in the same business, so securities lending. I worked in different European cities for different kind of banks. And at the very beginning of my financial market career, I start as a sales in FX brokerage.
Very cool. FX brokerage, right?
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, so back when you were doing in uni, before business school even, were you thinking I was born to be someone in finance?
Yes, definitely.
So you knew early on.
Yeah, I would say the first time I had this kind of business spark, it was right at the beginning of high school, because I was really concerned of not having any idea of what I'm gonna do later. So I was really trying to find, okay, what do I like? What's my skills? What do I want to learn? And what are my priorities? And also, sometimes you watch a movie, you read a book, or you're traveling and you're meeting someone. I mean, you're not really meeting someone, but just it happened that you see someone like in a situation, and you're like, tada! Like you're like, oh my god, I want to be this person. I had a bit of that during a first trip to New York because that's very silly, but I was in a nail bar and there's a full suit on businesswoman who just arrived, like she was rushing, and she was like, "Can you please save my life?" Because she had a meeting right after. And so she was in the nail bar as well. And I was looking at her, I was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. Like she looked amazing and her life looks so cool. And she was like, yeah, I'm working in trading in a bank. And that's all that she said, basically. And I was
just came up to you and said, "Can you save me?" What do you mean? What you didn't know each other?
No. It's just like she was saying that to the people in nail bar. Like she was just showing her hand, and the nails were not done. So she was like, "Please save me." And then back to work. She was running. But yeah, I was 14, and I was really like, impressed.
You're so busy and so important, right? Running
Exactly.
around. Yeah, you said I want to do that. Okay.
And otherwise, then I did a lot of researches around the industry. To be honest, it was pretty difficult to get good quality information when I was in high school or even during college and university, because it's really niche, and also if you don't know anybody, like for instance, my parents are not in finance at all. Nobody in my family is.
What are they in? Medicine?
Sorry?
Medicine? What are they in? health?
Oh, not at all. They were working. They were working. My mom as a teacher and my dad for the Navy.
Got it. Okay.
So both for the states, very public sector, you know. Um, so yeah, so it was really difficult to get information without, falling in very cliche information or very basic information that actually mean nothing. Um, so yeah, for instance, this very standardized um, note that says, "Oh yeah, if you're a trader, after 3 years, you need a plan B because you're gonna have an automatic burnout or something." So yeah, that's not really encouraging when you're like, okay, I'm gonna study for 5 years and then my career is gonna be 3 years. Oh my God, what is this?
Where did you hear that? Or it's just some online articles?
That was something online, one of these websites that
Did you
kind
not
of
find
gather
Wall
a lot
Street
of
Oasis? You didn't find Wall Street Oasis in high school?
no, actually,
We
no.
were we
It's
were
more
around.
like
I think we were around. Yeah. You,
I think it's more at the very end of
business
my
school.
business school years
Yeah.
when I got a bit, more connected to people within the industry, and I was going to after works, and so yeah, I had more keywords to research about, and then obviously you start finding Wall Street Oasis, Investopedia, obviously, all of that.
Yeah. And so it sounds like pretty early on you knew this kind of fascinated you, this world of trading and whatnot. So you basically went all the way through uni, kind of just not really knowing, but then you said you applied to business school, so you knew you do want to do something in finance or business, right?
Yes, so it's like I had this idea very early on about trading. Trading looked very, very appealing to me, very exciting, very intellectual. Um, yeah, a lot of adrenaline, but also a lot of impact in the economy. So all of that was really interesting for me. Um, on the other side, I'm someone that is interested in many, many different things. And also, I would say, as a young woman, I think, you always have the impact of your environment and also of the picture that you project around you. And as an industry, finance is not really welcoming for women, especially not in financial markets. So when I was
Especially
seeing,
especially trading.
especially trading, I mean,
Even more.
there are also other areas, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're not gonna name them, all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was saying, for instance, to my mathematics professor on the first day when he was just asking a few people, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to be a trader." Then he was just like silence, and then getting closer to me and be like, "Oh, when I was a student, there was only the three best people in the room who would get that." And I was like, okay, but that's it. But then he was just like, "You've been warned," kind of. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just little things like this, but it just adds up, like years passing. And so obviously then that made me a bit hesitate about it, like, okay, am
Hmm.
I really done for this? Can I really do it?
Well, so were you spending the summers like what were you doing? Or in uni, like in the US at least, there's internships play such a huge role to getting a full-time job. Um, were you doing internships? What were you doing over your breaks?
So basically, the thing is, at first, during my college years and also the first years of business school, so I was in France. I was studying in France, and because my professor told me, "Oh, for personality interview, like finance, you're gonna get like terrible questions. It's gonna be too difficult." So uh, basically, I had an idea about financial markets, but I had also another idea, totally different, about digital marketing. And so they were like, yeah, you should more present this idea as your career path. So at first I was like, okay, fine. I have points for both of them, so I don't care. So at first I actually did many internships and experiences as a field sales or as assistant in digital marketing or business development.
Yeah.
And basically I did that until the very last year of my master's degree, where you have to specialize, to choose a major. And I mean, obviously I cannot say, yeah, I've done everything, I know everything in marketing, not at all. And that's really a brilliant field. But I had this feeling like I did what I wanted to do. Like I was having fun on Photoshop and all of that. That was really cool. Like CSS and HTML were really cool too.
Yeah.
But just I was like, I don't know. I feel like I want to try my other idea.
There's more to learn, and you felt like there's a lot more to learn in finance that was still unknown versus digital market. You felt like marketing, even with the
Maybe.
few internships, you felt kind of like, okay, is that it?
Yes, I was. It's a bit like you had a big meal and then you're good. I was feeling a bit like this. I was like, I really loved marketing, but now I got enough of it. So I'm just gonna move to my second idea. And so I choose finance as a major.
Mm-hmm.
So I have master specialized in finance,
Yep.
and I start kind of pivoting to my current career. So the in between was my last year of master's degree, because so I never did a summer internship in a bank
Yep.
or wherever. I never did that.
How did you recruit for this first sales position, this FX?
So
What?
basically what I did is my last year of a master's degree, I did a kind of in-between role. Basically, I was a foot already in the finance industry because I was working for a consulting company specialized in front office financial market position. Basically, the consultant could be like quants in a bank,
But what did the consulting firm do? They were front,
They were placing people in banks
oh,
for
like a recruiting agency almost, like finding
it's
quants.
still consulting. It's still consulting
Okay.
because it's like the quants are positioned in different banks
Yeah.
but for short-term missions.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So I was not one of them, obviously, because I'm absolutely not doing that. I don't have the skill for that, and I totally respect people who do that. But I was in contact with these people, and it was really interesting. I could ask like thousands of questions. I could network. I could ask them about actually the people I wanted to be. So other front office people like sales or traders,
Mm-hmm.
while I was capitalizing on what I was doing before. So basically in this company, I was doing more of a business development role.
Yeah, I mean it's so like vague. So like do they give you a list of people to call? Like what are you actually doing? So like an FX
Oh,
FX for
so
people for
that
listeners
that
who
was
don't
before.
know.
That was before. That was
Yeah.
before. Then so I did that. Then I finished my master's degree,
Okay.
and then so basically I was a bit okay. I have my diploma, so now I'm supposed to start really the financial market career I want. And so basically in France, when you do business school, there is this idea that is very strong that you cannot be a trader because it's too technical, and you can only be a sales. And trading jobs are for engineers or people who did engineering schools.
Yes.
That's a very, very strong idea. So I've been obviously kind of brainwashed because I've been through a business school in France. So basically, by this time, I was thinking, okay, I want to be a sales. And when I was trying to apply, obviously, they were all telling me, oh, but you didn't do any internship in a bank. You've never been in a training floor in your life.
Yeah.
And that was my main problem, because I was like, yeah, but if you don't let me in, how am I supposed to do? So that was a big problem. So all the big banks were absolutely not open to me.
This is, by the way, this is what I always say. People are like, when somebody tells you you have time to decide, it's actually not true. It makes your life a lot harder if you take longer to decide.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like if you know you're, in uni, or if you know right when you start business school and you're not doing like marketing, and if you can get an internship, it just makes the path so much easier, right?
Yeah, no, makes sense,
Yeah.
definitely.
But so
Um,
how did you actually get into sales? How did you actually do
so
it?
basically, as I said, I did a lot of networking. I've been to many conferences after work. First to just also learn about the industry, like observe a bit how people were behaving, talking. Honestly, I learned a lot, even about like vocabulary, like the jargon and all of that. Um, what was important for them, what they were looking for in colleagues, and also obviously like about their jobs. Um, and through my thesis, I interviewed two different sales guys. One was in a big bank, and the other one was working in brokerage. And that kind of inspired me, because I was like, okay, this is not a smaller structure. In this case, it was like an international broker, an American firm. But just I noticed that the brokerage industry was a bit more flexible. Like they were less about this very structured path of summer internship and then graduate and then permanent position. It was a bit more um, if you have a good fit, if your personality match with the team, if they feel like they can really train you, and you can be like a good sales because you're eager enough to be that,
So how did you
then that
convince
can
them
work.
to that? The interview helped, like you showed you were intelligent, you were really interested about it, and then he was like, "You're hired, or come work for us," or what? How did it work?
Yeah, that's honestly that's basically that. So then
Yeah.
after I was in contact with this person, so I was like, okay, I think I got a bit an idea of how I'm gonna do this. So I was like, okay, I need to apply for brokers positions,
So
and
for the
so that's
listeners, can you talk to about like what an FX broker would even do? Like, what is the role of this FX
yes, yeah,
brokerage?
for
Because
sure.
like, I think people are like, what's sales? What's broker? It's brokerage. You think of
Yes,
somebody in between, but like, what are you doing as a sales broker? Like, what
yeah,
is it?
no, for sure. So I have to say, I would say this position can change a lot in its content, depend on which firm you're gonna work in.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, so that was an average sized brokerage company. So that's not like market securities or something like this. Okay. So
Yeah.
you have to keep that in mind. That was a company that was more markets like a fintech, so a bit more of a startup mindset, and it was really at early stage of development as well. Um, so yeah, you have to keep that in mind. Obviously, when you apply, you're not going to have the same role in a huge broker that is already very established, or in a small brokerage
So in this
company.
company, what was the business model? Like, how are you actually charging the clients?
So here, so you had obviously commissions like on your different trades, and so my role basically was to develop the business, so to create a portfolio. So I was managing existing clients that would be allocated to me, follow up with them about their use of ethics, giving them market analysis.
Can you give me an example of like one of the deals you put together for them and like how much that would make the firm? Approximately, like okay, there's a company in XYZ, they have a lot of exposure to,
Like
this.
for instance, that's so I was taking care of corporate clients. So we're not talking about institutional clients here. It's really corporate clients. It was more like average sized company, no listed companies here. So that could be really anything. That could be like the small shop that you can find in a Japanese exhibit, selling product from Japan, and then you have obviously some ethics like GPY and GBP, or that could go up to a huge company that is on Alternext, for instance, that is in medical products and that buy some supply in the US, for instance. And then
And so they
again, you
need some
have
sort of
some.
hedging strategy to protect themselves on currency fluctuations.
Yeah, so that
So maybe
was.
maybe their inputs are like in one currency, but they're selling in another.
Yeah, that can be that. For instance, they can be pooling their assets
Yeah.
in their location currency. For instance, if they're based in France, so all of their balance sheet are in euros, but they're buying regular large amounts of supply in the US. So you have some FX going on, and obviously at a certain scale, it has an impact on your revenue. So you have to hedge yourself, and you have to monitor that. So then basically I would call definitely a lot. That would be like a
A lot
big
of cold
portion of my
calling.
day. I mean, sometimes I was like with two phones around the head, so that was pretty intense. But then it was mostly it was spot orders, and also I have to say that within this fintech there was really the idea of okay, we're maintaining client relationship, but also we are selling the use of a platform. So basically, the idea is that the client can be really independent if they want to, and that's obviously in our favor, because the more the client is independent, the less you have to take care of them, and then you can go and hunt for new clients. So yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, so you're doing calls. Are you doing calls to try and get new
So
clients
I'm doing
mostly?
calls, I'm managing relationship, I'm giving commentaries, and especially
Market
if there's
updates.
big news updates, exactly. But also sometimes it has also some pretty yeah, funny or even a bit weird side of the job. Like sometimes you can find ethics clients in the big fairs, for instance, like when they're selling fish, when they're selling Asian products, when they're selling arts as well. So then I was just like during one day, I had a list of potential clients, and I was just like doing huge fairs and trying to to create new relationships like this. So that was quite interesting, um, and quite nice, to be honest. Yeah.
Cool. So you're there for under a year. Why jump? Why move? What happened? Did they close?
So there was a bit of personal reason, but then also I also wanted to evolve in my career, and I was thinking, okay, I have my experience in a trading floor, so nobody can tell me, ah, you've never been in a trading floor, so I'm done.
Yeah.
Good. um, and also maybe I would like to live in another country, and also maybe I would like to work for a bigger structure. So yeah, for all of these different reasons, I stopped working in this company. Then I went back to my country for maybe like a month or two.
Hmm.
um, and then I moved to Germany, and so I start
But you
again.
you quit your job. You quit your job and went back to your home country before you had another job lined up.
Yes,
So
yes.
what gave you the confidence to do that? Just because, well, you're just because you had to
Because
get
of my
home.
experience, because
Yeah.
because as I said, I networked quite a lot, so I was
Okay.
observing obviously,
You knew
the
you had
different.
you knew you had opportunities. You were still getting like you had a lot of a lot of contacts that are all around Europe. You felt like
It was not really about contacts, to be honest. Like I was still a nobody, like a newbie, and honestly, I had, I mean, not no clue, but I didn't have the knowledge I have now. And like at this time, I had really no flair about markets. So it's not about the contacts. It's just I observed like the resume of many people, and I just knew, okay, I have 1 year experience in the trading floor as a sales, FX sales, which often, refers to a pretty intense product for many people. So
yep.
that's quite strong. So I just thought, okay, I'm really confident in the fact that I can resell that to a bigger bank. And also, I noticed that in the grade programs of French banks, um, they were really, really eager to hire people who know how to speak German. And I know how to speak German. I'm not fluent because it's a really difficult language, but I have very good skills in that. So basically, I just spot a very strong competitive advantage I had. So I didn't waste my time trying to apply to New York or London like everybody, and I just applied directly for Germany, and I got it.
Awesome. And so like when you moved back home, so you quit. Did you get a bonus at all? Or are there bonus structures like 1 year? Did you lose your bonus? Or did you get a bonus?
No, I mean, as I said, that was very startup,
Startup B.
fintech,
Okay. So you
structure.
weren't
Yeah,
what
there
were
was no
you, do
bonus included.
you mind sharing what your like base salary was around or a range?
Yes. So, honestly, that was a while ago.
It's a long time, but was that like,
I'm
I don't even know in euros. So what would it be like 40,000 euros,
Yeah,
30,000?
that was pretty low, to be honest. You're gonna be disappointed already.
I'm not
Um,
disappointed. It's fine.
I think that was around 25K euros a
Yep.
year.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
about right. It's a startup, right? So okay, so you
So
quit.
that was in Belgium,
Yep.
and also I had some perks like on the side of that.
Hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's
Benefits and stuff.
pretty.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-mm.
So you went home. So you went home, and then did you move to Germany first before applying, or you got the job? You applied from
No,
home.
so yeah, I waited. Basically, I went home also because I was not earning any money anymore. So
Yeah.
in this case for me, it's automatic. It's like, okay, go back to your parents where you're not gonna pay anything. So yeah, so that's why I went back home as well because
Was it a
I
downsizing or something else personal? The reason you went back, you don't want to share why you left.
I mean, it was just there was like some romantic thing going on, breakup in particular. But yeah, so basically, I felt like, okay, that was kind of
It was a
a
good
good
break for you.
moment.
It was the time. It was a
Yeah,
good.
exactly. It was just a good thing to go back home, kind of clean up the situation, and then move on, basically. So
Got it. Okay.
I did the whole thing in one time. I actually said that at my interview for the next job because they were a bit concerned that I was a young lady coming to Germany while I have no family there, and they were like, she's not gonna move. She's not gonna dare to move like this for a year or two. And I was like, oh, I'm flexible. I dropped everything, like even the boyfriend, so I can move. And yeah, I think that's quite good to say this kind of thing. I mean, first because it's true, and also because it's funny. And during an interview, everybody's stressed. So at least like if you
It
manage
makes them
to
laugh.
make
Because I looked.
exactly.
Were they nervous because you left before, or they were nervous just because it was a totally new country and you didn't know anybody there?
I think they were stressed because they already had very good candidates that reject offers because just Germany. it was not that attractive for them, and they didn't know anybody in the city. So
Got it. Okay, so enough
yeah,
enough about that. So you get there, you decide to make the leap, you convince them that you're ready, that you're going to stay there,
yeah,
you're not going to leave in 3 months. So
exactly,
so you get there and you're now in what, asset secured kind of financing sales, we'll call it.
exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
So tell me a little bit about just that specific role and like, what does that even mean for people who are clueless like me? I never worked on a trading desk. So explain to me what you were doing day to day.
Sure. So this was a totally new product for me. So obviously, like the learning curve was huge. Also, my team at this time was really a tiny team. So that means that I was really seeing a full range of products, and also directly I had a lot. I mean, I cannot say a lot of responsibilities because I was still just a grad, but still I was in contact, and I was in contact with a lot of different tasks, a lot of different businesses, a lot of different people as well. I was, going to see the clients with my manager. So that was pretty nice, because also most of the grads or interns were not allowed to do that, but I was, because again, tiny team, and also I was speaking German, so I was I was allowed to do this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's
So
definitely.
for the listeners, asset secured financing, basically you're helping
So basically, the business is in securities lending. So as the name says, so you're not buying or selling, but you're lending or borrowing. So that's a bit the twist of the desk. And then within this umbrella name, you have different kind of products. So on the equity side, you have what we call equity finance or stock loan. So basically, it's a single stock that you're gonna lend or borrow against a fee and a collateral.
Mhm.
So you have a two-way exchange.
Got it.
And on the fixed income side, we're gonna use what we call a repo, so a repurchase agreement. And that's a bit similar, to be honest. It's like, for instance, if you have like a bond that you're lending, then your borrower is going to receive the bond, he's going to send you a fee and a collateral that can be anything, like cash or another bond or equity. So then it's really up to the contract that you negotiated. We call that the collateral schedule, um, with your counterparty, and that's it. And the needs, obviously, the strategy that is in place within the lending program.
It sounds complicated. It sounds
Sorry,
because no, because
it's really good when you have a drawing, a scheme. You can really see the different flows and all of that. So yeah, just speaking is a bit
I think
difficult,
people should
maybe.
be visiting the finance dictionary after this. For our
Just honestly, if you just like Google stock loan, securities lending, and repo, I think you're already quite covered
half the way there. Yeah.
for a newbie.
For sure, for sure. No, so that's good. I mean, so you're there, you're learning a lot because you're seeing a lot of different new products. You're having to do a lot
Yes.
of cooperation and strategy from everywhere from back office. You're at a bigger bank, right? It's not
Yeah,
massive.
exactly. I'm in
Yeah.
an international bank, so I'm really
Yeah.
seeing what I wanted to see. That was a bit the first time I was feeling like I'm where I wanted to be. So that's already a great feeling. And also my desk is quite well located, because we're in contact with other desks worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So then I could talk to people in New York, people in Paris, people in London, in Hong Kong, in Tokyo as well. So the exposure was huge, and also because I love traveling, I kind of try to match my vacation with these cities. First for fun, because most of them I never been to,
Mm-hmm.
and also for networking, because it was always a good excuse to, go to the office and do a bit of handshaking and yeah, all of that. So yeah, I really try to make the most of being inside of this company.
That's very cool. So yeah, you got to travel to, Hong Kong, London, Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're there for a year and a half. Kind of what makes you think, hey, now is a good time to move? Where it was you didn't want to speak German anymore, or what was the thought?
So that was so as I said, that was a bit the French equivalent of a graduate program. So that was a term contract. So that's why it ended. And
Was
after
it?
that,
I
there was.
assume it was still a pay bump over the fintech place.
Sorry?
I assume it was still paid more than the original FX sales job.
Yes, it was. It was. And also it was not taxed, which is really nice too.
Oh, nice. So what was the pay around 40,000, 50,000?
Not that much
Not that
though.
much, 30-ish.
Yeah, it was more around 30K euros.
Okay. So now here, were there bonuses on the sales desk, or how should we think?
No bonuses for the grads, no.
Got it. Okay, because it's considered still right out of the master's program.
Basically, it's as I said, it's an equivalent. It's a French equivalent to what we call graduate programs in the US or the UK. But I was not I was not an employee of the bank.
Your contract.
So we call that VIE. And basically, you're sent abroad by the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so basically, I was legally an employee of the French Ministry, not of the bank.
Interesting. Why do they do that?
So that's a program that want to encourage young French people to work for French companies abroad.
Oh, French
That's
companies
basically the
abroad.
goal.
Got it. To help the French companies abroad kind of get some talent.
Yeah, and also to offer a very protected way of having abroad experiences for young people.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that can last up to 2 years. I signed directly for a year and a half, but sometimes you can just sign for 1 year and then go on if you're happy. So yeah.
So how did you know? Okay, year and a half. That's good. And then how did you start looking for your next job?
So as I said, during this job, I tried really to network a lot. Beside of my job, I created also a conference club that was organizing monthly conferences about finance and leadership. So through this, I met a lot of people as well. But then yeah, I was applying like everybody. I was applying a bit everywhere. Honestly, I was really applying worldwide, and sometimes HR was, yeah, they were a bit disturbed by this. They were a bit, where? I was like, anywhere where there's a stock exchange. Because
So
yeah, I was.
the headhunters were disturbed that you didn't have a preference for city or anything. You just like, yes, send me
Yeah,
anywhere.
because I mean, to be honest, like I traveled during this time. I traveled to the main financial hub in the world. So
you were
I had my
considering London, New York,
Hong
Hong
Kong,
Kong, yeah,
Singapore,
Singapore. You didn't care.
Tokyo.
You said whatever's the most interesting or best offer.
Exactly. I was more like, I know the job I want, so
Yeah.
just I want this job.
What was the job?
Whatever.
You wanted to do the same job, just somewhere else?
Yes, I at this time, yeah, I was still, as I said, I was still brainwashed. Yeah, I can only be a sales, I cannot be a trader. It's too difficult. But actually, when I met my traders in New York, that's kind of where things start shifting a bit, because I was saying that I was like, yeah, I'm trying to apply to sales jobs, and they were like, yeah, but what about trading jobs? And I was like, oh no, I can't. They were like, why? And I was like, I don't know. And they were like, come on, you should apply, you should apply. And maybe I applied to a few, but I was not really convinced. And actually, so I spent like a few months applying, spending time like passing interviews, but at the end, that's quite funny because actually the way I got my job is not through all of these applications. So at the end, I had different options. I had 3 different offers.
What were they
Uh,
around?
so
Vaguely.
there was one offer that was a bit on the research side of things because I really like behavioral finance,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of pitched myself to a desk in Paris
Yep.
internally, and we were talking about a potential position in this area. So that would have been a very big shift. Like that
Yeah.
would have been a bit difficult, like not difficult, but a bit different. Um, but that was very interesting. So
Sales
I
to
was,
research is very different.
yeah, but I mean, I love the topic, and
Yeah.
honestly, if I could do a PhD in that, I would.
Yeah.
So I was really, yeah, going for it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that was for Paris. Otherwise, I was shortlisted for a sales job in Hong Kong.
Cool.
Um, and finally, so actually, my current job in London, I got it not because I applied. I never applied to it, and I never saw the job description of my job, which is weird. But basically, one of my clients when I was in Germany talked with someone of the bank I'm working for now, and they were looking for someone, and basically he said, oh, I know someone who is looking for a job right now. And so they contacted me asking me, is London an option for you? And I was like, yes. um, and then then I passed the interviews, everything worked well for me, and that's it.
But this is for a trading. This is for a trading role now.
Yeah, so that's the funny part basically. So when they approached me first time by email, they were talking about the sales job. So I was obviously up for it because I was a sales already. So I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Then when I arrived, when we met, the first person I met told me, oh, by the way, actually it's gonna be a sales trader role. But then I was like, yeah, well, whatever, I'm here. So, yeah, I'm down for it too. And then when I received my contract to sign it, so by email as well, on my contract, it was written trader only. So I was like, okay, fine.
So they just gradually move you over to just pure trading, and you're not doing any sales. But I mean, trading and sale, they're linked, right? So tell me about like how things have. I'd love to hear how things have shifted from like the pure sales to now you're the trader. Are you?
Yeah, so
Tell me about that.
that's definitely not an in between sales trading role, and that's definitely a pure trading role, for the simple reason that we have a sales team to help us. So definitely I'm not doing the job.
You're
They're not
actually
doing mine.
executing. You're actually executing the trades and looking at markets and not
Yes, exactly. So basically,
market making. What doing risk? Trying to deal with
so
the.
basically, I'm managing the risk on my books, covering the interest of the clients that are managed by the sales guys,
Mhm,
and otherwise, internally trying to optimize revenues on the different books,
mhm,
and working on some optimization for internal processes as well.
mhm.
Um, yeah, that's basically the overview of the job.
Tell me about the culture. Are people screaming all the time? Is it calm? Is it what's it like
Not
being?
at all. That's a big cliche.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's come every time. But yeah, that's because of what you see on the screen in
there's no hazing.
cinema.
There's no hazing.
I mean, so
A little bit for the
sometimes
new interns.
so sometimes obviously, if you have like a big news, and a lot is, yeah, a lot is going on, then maybe you're gonna be like shouting to your sales and then back to you because that's a very quick way to communicate,
Yeah.
and we're seated very close to each other. But otherwise, most of our job is virtual. So you're gonna just see a lot of people lined up, seated at the desk and working, looking at the screens.
Yeah.
So it's not like screaming and moving everywhere and like being like almost jumping and
Tell me about
it,
what tell me about what it's like being a female on the desk and how you felt just kind of just when you started there and that can be
yeah.
from all the way back to now. Just how
That's actually interesting because there's a big change like since I'm in London, basically in the team I'm working in. That's the first time in my career ever that I'm not the only woman in my team.
yeah.
And that's a huge change. We're only two, but 2 out of 4, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that can seem like a very small thing to say, but that changed the whole dynamic, and in a good way, because otherwise, if you only see guys, if you notice that you're only 4 women in the whole trading floor, um, well, you feel a bit alone, and just you feel like something is wrong here, because it's not like outside in the streets, like yeah, it's not mixed at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was in the brokerage company, I was the only female sales working there. Um, and in my first bank position, again, I was the only woman in the team, and yeah, we were only 4 or 5 women in the training floor. That was a small training floor, maybe 50, 60 people in total, but still that's very small if you look at the percent. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I would say currently I'm in a bank that definitely is giving very good efforts to do a shift, and I noticed it like from day one, because in comparison to the other bank, was still very traditional, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really like, yeah, it shows, like it really shows, like
Do you
you
feel like
just
you feel like you're more at home and comfortable at your current bank?
I'm more comfortable because, as I said, like if inside of the company looks more like outside in the streets, I think that's a good, yeah, that's a good sign. It's a healthy sign, because otherwise, if you're walking through the rows and I don't know, you're seeing only old white male, basically, that's just very weird. You're like, okay, where are the others?
Yeah.
So
Where's everybody else? Exactly. So
exactly.
so do you feel like this is potentially a long-term home for you? I know you've been there for over 3 years already. What's the thought process in terms of future for you?
I mean, definitely, I'm happy where I am right now. Then
Was the pay a big jump going to London?
um, I was a bit scared of this move, because I knew it was kind of a long-term move,
Yeah.
in comparison to before, where it was term contract, or the very beginning of my career. Like that time, I knew like that choice was going to be at least I don't know, a 5 years choice.
Yeah.
So I was a bit more stressed, and also because also people told me, oh, when like once I chose, they were like, oh, you're going to London, oh my god, the pace is totally different. This is not Germany. They're gonna work you to the bone.
Yeah.
So I was a bit stressed about that, and basically the first 6 months I've been in London, I was really taking care of myself, like I was a sport woman or something. Like I don't know, I
You're an
was
athlete. You're like working out every day.
exactly. But honestly,
Yeah.
like when you think of it, like when you see what is required from you for a front office job, like a trader or sales or even in M&A, to be honest.
Yeah.
They want you to be performant. They want you to be quick. They want you to be precise. They want you to be like.
So you're saying they should all force their traders, the M&A banker teams onto Pelotons or something like that.
I don't
Every
know,
day,
but
half-hour interval training.
I
Let's
would
go.
say that honestly, when you look at what is required from you, the comparison between you and an athlete is actually quite easy to do. Because then, like, yeah, I was just being super careful about my sleep, about what I was eating. I was going to the gym.
So
I don't
you
know.
weren't working 80-hour weeks then. You were working what, 65, 70 when you started?
I would say 60 hours a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can still kind of work out at 60 hours a week, right? You can't. It's
Oh yeah,
hard.
definitely. I'm going to the
Yeah.
gym like 3 times a week during the week.
Yeah. I'd
So
say once you hit like 80, 90, it starts getting hard. Really hard.
oh yeah, definitely. I would never do M&A, and all my condolences to all the people who do that. They are really brave. I would never do that. Never.
Yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah.
So you had like about 30,000 euros kind of coming there, and then at this larger bank, was it closer to 40? Would you say now?
More than that, actually.
Mhm.
Basically the double of it.
Double, yeah, so closer to 60,000. Yeah, okay. And then
And
bonus
there is a
wise,
bonus.
yeah, and they have
Yeah.
bonuses too, which can be a lot, right?
Yeah.
That's
Like on average, I mean, that can be in the 20 to 30%.
30, 20, 30%. Yeah. Very cool. That's really helpful. It just gives
Depends on the
people,
year, obviously. Sometimes you have a bad year, and that's
and it's
very
zero. Yeah.
unfortunate.
Sometimes it's bad year, it can be zero, and sometimes it's a great year and it could be closer to 40% or whatever. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, before we call it, thanks for talking for so long about your experiences. Any other kind of final words of wisdom, kind of looking back on your path?
Um, Wisdom looking back.
Just seeing your path, like, okay, you've jumped countries, you've jumped companies, you jumped kind of product groups. Any thoughts on just overall kind of?
Honestly, I'm pretty happy about my career. It was tough, but I'm really happy with all the experiences I got, and I think I did quite well, so I'm fine. But I'm always like looking, in the future, looking forward, um, and
Staying curious.
if yeah, exactly. I think when you reach, for instance, your first permanent job, you can feel a bit obviously very excited, very proud, very happy. But then you have this kind of rebound feeling, like you're like, okay, what's next now? Like I'm kind of done. So what should I do? And I think I felt a bit like this, like during my first year, and it was quite paradoxal because first year in London, I was learning a lot. That was new city, new life, new people, new everything, and new job. So I was learning tons of things, but at the same time, I was a bit feeling um, yeah,
Like a letdown.
complete, kind of full. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here forever now, or what?
Yeah.
Um,
Complacency is not fun, right? And you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I made it. I made it. Finally, what do I do?
yeah, yeah, that's a bit that, like
Yeah.
when you fought so much and so badly for something, and then finally you get where you want, then you're a bit okay, okay, fine. So I think yeah, final word would be like it's obviously it's really nice to have different experiences, but I think having goals and priorities within these goals is the most important thing, because it really drives you.
For sure. I love it. Well, I appreciate it. EquityTrader is what we're going to call you for now, but I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your wisdom with everyone.
Yeah, of course.
And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, patrick@wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.